What is up everyone, and welcome to some more F1 23 My Team Career Mode. We're here for round number 21 out of 23 in our fourth season as Jaguar Racing, and I am very excited for this one. It is the Brazilian Grand Prix. However, there is going to be one slight hitch here today, and that is that in the race I'm going to be taking a 10-place grid penalty because I've had to replace my internal combustion engine. Not convinced that the one that we've got in the car is going to survive the entire duration of the weekend, so I am taking the liberty to replace it. And it does mean, yes, we're going to be taking a 10-place grid penalty, but I think we'll be able to get a strong result irrespective of that. We currently sit, I believe, just behind Lando Norris in the standings, or maybe just ahead of him. I can't remember. Last race was Mexico City, and we did outperform him there. So, yeah, now I remember, we're 1 point ahead of him in the championship. It's very close between me and him, and it's also very close in the performance index. You can see that Haas have caught up to the rest of the field as well. Alfa Romeo and Williams are starting to close the gap a little bit, and then AlphaTauri are still quite a long way away. But yes, like I said, it is the Brazilian Grand Prix, and I'm hoping that I can get at least a victory in the sprint, if not in both the sprint and the race. The race is going to be a lot more difficult because we are going to be obviously taking that penalty, but hopefully we can at least still make our way through the field enough to the point that we can get a good result and hopefully not lose too many points to Lando Norris if we lose any points to him at all. We were very fast in practice, we looked especially good, and I'm hoping that we can continue that level of performance through the entire weekend to hopefully bag a victory in the sprint at least, and bag the pole position in qualifying before that. So yeah, we are going to be moving into qualifying now, and like I said, hopefully I can qualify on pole to really be able to mark out my desire to get that sprint victory. I don't know if I've ever won a sprint before. I can't remember a time when I've done that. Oh wait, I won one in Kota literally a couple races ago. All right, ignore me. I'm talking rubbish again. But anyway, we did win the sprint then. I think that was my first sprint victory I've had, if I remember correctly, but maybe I'm wrong about that. So here we are in qualifying, Q1, fresh set of soft compound tyres, and we are going to be doing a 106.6 by the looks of things, which is the fastest lap of the session so far. Certainly faster than Lando Norris, which is nice to see, but as we go for our second flying lap of the session, we will see whether that's going to be good enough for first place or not. It certainly seems that it will be, and we have basically done an identical lap time. We've only improved by a couple hundredths of a second. It's another 106.6, and well, I guess that was a pretty good run. Either that or I'm just very consistent, because yeah, like I said, identical lap times. Certainly looking like we're pretty consistent here. Lando Norris was all the way down in P9, which was nice to see as well. Kevin Magnussen in P13. Not fantastic from him, but hopefully he can do a little bit better in the following sessions. And then the eliminations here were Sargent, Tsunoda, Lawson, Fittipaldi, Stroll, and De Vries. Joe and Hulkenberg, the two perhaps surprise tickets making it through. Doohan, only 16th, but he was only a second off of me. Just to show you what the margin is like, 1 second separating the top 16 there. There really is nothing in it anymore between the top teams, and it's all down to the driver now. So yeah, we just have to be the best of the bunch, and we are certainly looking pretty good here in Brazil so far. This is a run on a used set of soft compound tyres, and it's going to be a 106.6 again. I can't stop doing 106.6s apparently, and we will see what kind of time we can do on a fresh set of soft compound tyres as we get onto our final flying lap of the session. We were already in first at the end of the session even before we improved, so on a used set of tyres we were able to set a time which was good enough for P1, but we decided to go on a fresh set of tyres to improve anyway. It's a 106.3 this time, so finally we break out of that 106.6, and again we are through in first place. So we've been first in practice, first in Q1. Will we be first in Q3? Let's find out. Magnussen does make it through in P9, which is nice to see. Norris does make it through as well, P5. Eliminated here, Sergio Perez, Carlos Sainz, Charles Leclerc, Hauger, Hulkenberg, and Joe. Sergio Perez, at the beginning of the season looked like he might be a legitimate title contender, and right now he is so far away. I think he's already mathematically out of the championship, actually. I think he's 86 points down on me. So, yeah, another classic from Sergio Perez there, like he often does in real life, where in the first 5 races of the season you think, Checo's going to be a legitimate championship contender this season, and by the end of the season you ask yourself why you ever thought that was true. Either way, we're in Q3, Sergio is not, and we are on a used set of soft compound tyres. It's a 106.5, and actually it's not the fastest time of the session this time. That belongs to Lando Norris with a 106.3, so we are going to have to improve on our final run here. We are up, but are we up by enough? I don't think so right now. Let's have a look. As we get into the final sector, we are 2/10 up on Lando Norris, but we have to improve by about 2/10, I think, to be able to beat Lando Norris. So I think that this is going to be quite close between me and him. He's got a 106.39, and we are going to cross the line. It's a 106.3, but is it good enough for pole position?
Okay,
yes,
job,
it is.
Really
Okay,
well
I think
done.
we must have been super close there, both in the 106.3s. Lando Norris really put the hammer to me at the end there.
With qualifying finished, it's time to remind ourselves of our top 3, Robinson, Norris and George Russell. Goodbye for now then, but we are really just getting started. Make sure you join us again for Lights Out tomorrow.
Yeah, 0.04 of a second in it between me and Norris there. Super close. Not really what I was expecting. I was thinking, I was dominant in the previous 2 sessions, so I was kind of expecting a bit more of a comfortable ride there. But we do pick up pole position. Means we'll be starting first in the sprint, and hopefully we can get the victory there to extend our championship lead. Even if it is only by a point, it will be me and Lando Norris lining up on the grid next to one another in P1 and P2. So yeah, it'll be interesting to see how the race and the sprint unfold in terms of who wins what. But yeah, in any case, it is now time for us to get into the sprint for the Brazilian Grand Prix.
Welcome to today's sprint. This is shaping up to be another fantastic weekend. Let's run you through the driver grid order for today's exciting sprint. Robinson lines up on pole position, and Lando Norris lines up alongside. Considering the rest of the grid, we have Russell, Verstappen, Albon, Ocon, Doohan, Oscar Piastri, Gasly, Magnussen, Perez, Sainz, Leclerc, Hauger, Hulkenberg, Joe, Sargent, Tsunoda, Liam Lawson, Fittipaldi, Stroll, and Nick de Vries rounds off the grid. Which of these drivers will get pole position today? We will soon find out.
Well, they don't have anything to say on this occasion in the intro. That's an Alpine there, I believe, maybe Gasly, not quite sure. And yeah, we are now just going to be looking at the track. I am hoping I'll be able to get the victory here. I've said it a lot already. I think it's going to be pretty important. We are leading Norris in the championship at the moment, but we're going to want every advantage we can get in these last few races. There's only 3 race weekends, including this one, left to go. So we're going to have a really, really tough fight of things between me and Lando Norris in these last few races, I am sure. And that starts right here at the Brazilian Grand Prix in the sprint. We are going to be on a set of soft compound tyres for the entire duration of the thing. And in my experience, in 2 of the 3 sprints we've done here in Brazil, starting on the soft compound tyres, they've really gone off towards the end actually, and that has meant that I have been overtaken on the line on the final lap. That's what happened to me on 2 separate occasions. In season 1 it was Hamilton, in season 3 I think it was either Russell or Bottas, I can't remember. But yeah, in any case, maybe this time we can finally win here in Brazil, but we'll see what we can do as the lights come on. and the lights go out, and we've gotten away well compared to Lando Norris at least, which is something that we can be happy about. So we will not be jumped off the start. In fact, it's looking pretty good for us. We're already 8/10 ahead of Lando Norris. We must have had a blinding start. If we can break out of that DRS range, then that would be absolutely crucial, but I don't think that we're going to pull away from him quite as much as we did at any other point compared to the start. I would be surprised if we do manage to break out of that DRS range on these soft compound tyres. I have a bit of a propensity to overheat them, especially the softs. So yeah, I wouldn't be surprised if Lando Norris does stay with us and we have to do some crafty defending to keep him behind. George Russell currently occupies that 3rd place spot as well, so who knows, maybe he could get involved in the fight a little bit. I would absolutely love if he could get ahead of Lando Norris here. That would really make my day, because it would mean that we were able to extend the points advantage we have over Lando Norris even more. You know, Lando Norris, I feel like he's a bit overdue, maybe a DNF or something. I know he obviously had a difficult race in Kota, but me and him didn't finish that far apart. I think he still finished 7th or something like that in that race. So yeah, he still bagged points. It wasn't a completely fruitless weekend for him. So I'm feeling like he really is overdue a more difficult weekend. But we can only hope that will happen as we make our way towards the end of sprint lap 3 now, and Lando Norris is going to be closing us down quite a lot. In fact, he's going to go for a move up the inside here. I think we're maybe going to be able to hold him off. Yet we switch to the inside on the exit of the center S's, and that is going to allow us to get ahead of Lando Norris, but he will have the DRS once again here, as there is a yellow flag behind. We'll see what that's for in just a moment. Lando Norris once again going up the inside. We do manage to stay ahead still. Let's see what happened there to bring out that yellow flag. This is Jack Doohan in the McLaren. Disappointing for him. He's had a really strong run of form so far. I think this is his first DNF in Formula 1, but there's worse times to have your first DNF in Formula 1 than in a sprint race, I guess. He was running in the points, so it is disappointing in that regard, but I am sure that he will be able to get over it and make his way through the field in the race tomorrow. He'll be starting at the back of the grid. We hopefully will be starting in 11th place once that 10th place grid penalty is applied, but Lando Norris might have something to say about that as he goes up the inside once again. It's a bit more of a half-hearted move this time. He wasn't really looking like he was ever in danger of making the move, but he is going to be super close to us, on the back of us, going into this next DRS straight. And he's going to make the overtake by the time we get to the corner. I'm going to try and dive back around the outside of him, but actually what that ends up doing is that ends up leaving me open to George Russell, and we have lost 2 positions in the space of just a couple of corners, and that was not what I was expecting was going to happen whatsoever. But, you know, my fight is with Norris, not with George Russell, so I am going to dive back up the inside of him there. You are not that guy, George Russell. This is not your fight. Stay out of it, quite frankly, is what I was saying there. We make our way into P2 once again, and by the time that we're at the end of lap 7, Lando Norris has broken that 1 second gap between me and him, and that means that we are going to be really in danger of being attacked here by George Russell. He is super close now. We're not going to have that sort of comfort level of protection, that little extra boost to help us stay with Lando Norris now, so he's probably just going to break further and further away, I would say. I just didn't really seem to have the pace to be able to stay with him on these soft compound tyres, and so George Russell now attacking me up the inside. He tries to go for the same move he went on me before, but this time he just doesn't have the grip to pull it off, and so we are going to be holding on to this P2 for the time being, but there are still 4 laps to go in this sprint here, and I would be very surprised if that was the last we saw of George Russell. You can see this time he's going for a move to the outside. We're going to dive up the inside, but look at that, we're running out of grip so much. The apex is a mile away from where I'm actually making the corner, and that is not what we want to see. Make our way towards the end of lap 9 now, onto the start of lap 10, and once again we're going to be coming under some pressure from George Russell here. He's not quite close enough to go for a move into the center S's. We actually do make the apex this time, which is good to see as well, but well, let's see if we can hold him off once again in this DRS zone. We're not going to be able to see until right before he's close to us. He will have the DRS as we get into the corner. Who's ahead? Is it me? Is it him? We're wheel to wheel. He looked like he actually might have been marginally ahead there, but on this occasion we do manage to hold off George Russell, and now there is only one more lap to go here in the race. We're going to have probably one more situation where we're going to have to defend from him. Lando Norris is 3 seconds up the road. He is going to win this sprint unless his car breaks down in the final lap. George Russell is going to try and go at the inside once again. We have no tyre grip, but we have just enough to be able to hold to the inside of the Senna S's, and I think that might be the last we see of George Russell. He's 6/10 back on us now. We're going to be burning all of our battery to be able to hold on to this one, and as we make our way into turn 4 we are still ahead. So as long as what happens, or what has happened I should say, in 2 of the 3 sprints that I've done so far doesn't happen here, we should be able to hold off George Russell for this P2. And because I was 1 point ahead of Lando Norris coming into the sprint, that is going to put myself and Lando Norris even on points. We are going to both be on the same amount of points. I don't know what number that is, but all I know is that it could not be closer between myself and Lando Norris right now. With 3 races left to go in this season, it's about as close as it could be, and well, things are only going to get more challenging from here. You would have to imagine that Lando Norris is going to pull away in the championship with me starting all the way down in 12th. But as we come up to the line, we're going to take P2. For some reason I'm celebrating, which I don't really understand, because my rival has just evened me on points. But in any case, Lando Norris takes driver of the day for that performance. We do hold off George Russell, and it's going to be P2 in the sprint.
So let's review the updated drivers' standings. This result narrows the gap between our championship leader and the rest of the standings. Well, that wraps up sprint. All that remains is the main event. We'll be live and uninterrupted for the Grand Prix tomorrow, so make sure you join us then.
So we hold on to the championship lead, which I suppose is on countback, the reason why that happens. And that means that we are, well, it means if we're tied on points at the end of the season, which I would say is probably going to be quite unlucky, we may still win the championship even off the back of that. So yeah, we've just got a little bit left to do here now. We've got the race itself, and I don't know where we're going to be starting. Maybe some other people will have some grid penalties as well, but it potentially could be as low as 12th place. So hopefully it will mean that we're able to move through the field a little bit, but we'll see what we can do as we get into the race.
Welcome to where heroes and history are made. It's where the 2008 title was decided in the final corner, and just 1 year later, Jenson Button stormed through from 14th on the grid to claim his one and only Drivers' Championship. It's time then for the Sao Paulo Grand Prix. We're racing then at Interlagos, a historic 2.7 mile circuit and one of the few anti-clockwise tracks on the calendar. 15 corners in total, 9 to the left and 6 to the right, with a technical middle section opening up to a flat-out Sector 3 that give us our best passing opportunity down into Turn 1. Let's run you through the driver grid order for today's exciting race. Lando Norris will lead us away from pole position, just ahead of George Russell, who starts this event from P2. As we continue through the rest of the grid today, we have Verstappen, Ocon, Gasly, Sainz, Perez, Magnussen, Hauger, Robinson, Leclerc, Hulkenberg, Sargent, Albon, Joe, Fittipaldi, Tsunoda, Liam Lawson, Stroll, De Vries, Oscar Piastri, and Jack Doohan. Now, it's almost time for lights out, so let's go down to the track. And here, of course, is Anthony Davidson. And we welcome Anthony Davidson to the commentary box. And we're looking at the champion. Can they relax, or are they going to be taking it as seriously as they did race 1?
It really is well deserved. I wouldn't say it's been a faultless title challenge, but certainly one that has been consistent and well managed. Here's hoping they let off a bit of steam today and give us an exciting race.
Well, I'm not sure what they mean by we're looking at the champion. Myself and Lando Norris are literally even on points. So there's definitely still some work to do to decide who's going to be the driver's champion. But it could be worse. Leclerc and... No, it wasn't Leclerc. It was Albon and Piastri, I think, got penalties. So that means that we are starting in P10. and it means we've got a little bit less work to do. Realistically, I think I probably need to get at least sort of third here, I would say, to make sure that Lando Norris doesn't break away from me too much. That would put me 10 points, maybe 11 points down on him in the championship, which with 2 races to go, I think is not an impossible deficit to overcome, but it is still a pretty intense deficit to overcome. And yeah, I think that this championship could still go either way. Just because I've never lost a title fight I've been involved in before back in F1 22 does not mean that that precedent will repeat in F1 23, but we will see. What we can do is the lights come on and the lights go out, and we've gotten away well. Hauger got away well, but he was held up by Perez there. We're ahead of Magnussen and Gasly as well, and we're up into P6. We're going to go around the outside of Carlos Sainz as well, and I don't know if we're going to be able to win out this fight or not. It seems like we just about have, and we are up into P5 now. So that is pretty much the perfect start I could have hoped for. We're up 5 positions already, and we are now going to try and set our sights on these cars in front. Meanwhile, Lando Norris has broken away quite significantly. We're going to see if we can put some pressure on Esteban Ocon here. Russell and Verstappen going wheel to wheel is holding them up a treat, which means we're going to try and go up the inside of Esteban Ocon there. We just about squeezed into a gap that was closing, and Ocon had to open it up again to allow us to stay there, and so that meant that we are up into P4 now. We're now going to see if we can put some pressure on Verstappen as well. We're going to go for a very audacious move up the inside. I wouldn't be able to do that on anything other than lap 1, I don't think. But that has allowed us to take P3 from the start here in Brazil. And what an opening lap this has been. Now I need to try and set off to George Russell, I think. He is 0.8 seconds up the road, so we're going to have to try and close this gap a little bit with the battery. We're going to have to burn quite a bit of battery here, I think, to try and stay with him. Lando Norris, meanwhile, already 3 seconds ahead of him. It may be a bit too tall of a task to catch him, potentially, but you never know how things may unfold in a race like this. You never know. Maybe his soft compound tyres will start to go off towards the end of his first stint. We're on lap 3 now. You may not have seen that little cut there because it was quite a seamless transition, but yeah, we have accelerated 1 lap, and we're within George Russell's DRS range. So that means that we do have a pretty good chance of trying to overtake him. But whether we're able to overtake him or not, it doesn't seem like it's going to happen on this lap. We are 8.5 tenths down on him. I think the gap is just a little bit too big at the moment to have any chance of closing him down. But you never know. We could get him in the next DRS zone on the exit of the center S's. We don't get a great run through here, but it is still pretty good. We've closed the gap to about 5 tenths. Will we be close enough to close him down? Probably not on this occasion. But as we get onto lap 7 now, we're looking a lot closer to George Russell. Not quite close enough to go for a move on this occasion, but only a couple tenths behind him. And not only that, but you can see that we have closed the gap to Norris quite significantly as well. So yeah, there is a chance that we might be able to get ahead of him before the end of our first stint as well. We have something in the engine which is getting a little bit worn, but hopefully we won't have to worry about that too much. And we are going to go for an opportunistic move up the inside of George Russell. We just about make it work. He leaves us the room, and we are through into P2. We are not holding any punches back right now. We are just going to go full send, because that's what we have to do here, quite frankly. We have to go full send because we can't afford to drop any points to Lando Norris if we can avoid it. Unfortunately, what that did is that put me out of Lando Norris's DRS range, which means George Russell is going to come for a little bit of an attack here. But are we going to be able to hold him off? Just about, I think, as we go to the exit of the center S's ahead of George Russell on this occasion, and also critically in Lando Norris's DRS range. And what does this mean? This means that we might be able to mount a bit of an attack on Lando Norris. His soft compound tyre is starting to go off, I think, a little bit. And yeah, we'll see if we can close him down. And you can see on the following lap, we are much closer to Lando Norris. Only a couple tenths, if that, separate us. And we're going to go up the inside of Lando Norris and make the move into turn 1. Not into turn 1, into P1, I should say. And that is going to be us taking the lead of the Brazilian Grand Prix. But not only that, George Russell has got ahead of Lando Norris as well. And so Norris is down into P3. They've held each other up quite significantly. So I think that we have a really good chance now of being able to maybe even take the victory here. If we can pull away from Lando Norris, then maybe there exists a chance of us taking the victory here. One thing's for sure, and that is... what am I trying to say? What am I trying to say right now? One thing is for sure, and that is that I really did not expect that I would be in the position I'm in this early on in the race. Did I think that there was a chance for me to win this? Sure. You have to go into pretty much every race believing that there's a chance for you to win it. But did I think that I would be leading by lap 10? No, I definitely didn't see that one coming. I thought that maybe it would require a bit of luck, a bit of strategy, and you know, maybe some safety cars, some red flags, that kind of thing, to be able to sort of close the gap little by little. I didn't think that I would be in P3 at the end of lap 1 and that I would be able to make the 2 more overtakes I needed to make within a few more laps of that. So yeah, we do hold off the attacks from George Russell on lap 10, and as we make our way to the end of lap 11 now, I don't think that that is the end of the dramas we're going to be experiencing from George Russell. So he's going to try and go up the inside here at turn 1 as we get into lap 12, and as we make our way through the center S's. Once again, I'm going to be able to hold him off here, and we've held him up quite a lot actually. I think we may have pushed him slightly wide because he has had to slam on the brakes quite significantly there to be able to make the corner, and that has meant that Lando Norris is now getting involved in the fight as well. They're going wheel to wheel, and what that has done potentially, Lando Norris now is 9/10 of a second down on us. If we can push hard here, we might be able to break out of that DRS range, and if we can do that, I would say that this victory is all but secured for us, quite frankly. As you can see, the gap is over a second now, and Lando Norris is going to be really fighting hard to win this one. George Russell ended up getting back ahead of him actually, and they're 3 seconds down on us now. And I think that there is a really good chance of us winning this Grand Prix. Lando Norris is going to pit on this lap, and that means that he'll probably catch up to us a little bit when he goes on his out lap. But I don't think he's going to be able to close up a 4-second gap, which is what it was between myself and Lando Norris. I guess we'll find out now. I think the only thing that could potentially screw us here is if we have some kind of pit stop error or something like that. So we're going to be coming into the pits for the hard compound tyres to the end of the Grand Prix. George Russell is going to, of course, make his way through to take the lead. He's going to be boxing a couple laps later, as is my teammate Kevin Magnussen. Unfortunately, I think that this is going to kind of remove George Russell from contention to win here, because he is going to have that little undercut performed on him by a number of people who started on the softs. And yeah, George Russell, unfortunate, because I do feel like he maybe deserved to be involved in the fight here a little bit. He was holding his own compared to myself and Norris, and ideally I would have liked George Russell to be involved in that fight, just to maybe allow me to score some more points over Lando Norris. But if it's only 7 points that we can score over Lando Norris, then so be it. We will just have to take what we can get. As we make our way to the end of lap 18, you can see that the gap between myself and Norris is just over a second, 1.5 seconds at the moment. If it gets to that 1 second gap or less, I think that maybe Lando Norris might have the pace to overtake us. But hopefully those medium compound tyres are going to start going off for Lando Norris. And if that happens, then I think we have a really good chance to break away. George Russell has pitted, and we are up into P2 now. Russell's basically nowhere. He's effectively out of the fight for all intents and purposes. And as we make our way towards the end of lap 19, Kevin Magnussen has come into the pits. He's going to be going onto those medium tyres for 17 laps. And we are going to retake the lead of the Brazilian Grand Prix here at the start of lap 20. And now it's just going to be a case of seeing whether we can break away from Lando Norris. We've already broken away by a few tenths, and as we make our way onto lap 23, you can see that the gap has increased by another 5 or 6 tenths. So things are looking really good for us right now. It seems like we maybe have about a tenth in hand over Lando Norris per lap, and that is enough. That's enough, you know. I was thinking this before when Lando Norris in the sprint was catching us by about a tenth of a second per lap. You know, a tenth was enough. A tenth was enough for him to win the sprint, and in this case, a tenth is going to be enough for me to pull away from Lando Norris to hopefully take the victory here. With only 12 laps left to go, he's really going to have to find some pace soon, and those medium tyres are only going to get worse and worse compared to my hards. He's been on them 1 lap extra than I've been on these hards as well, so yeah, I really do think the tyre strategy is maybe going to play into this one a little bit, and maybe Lando Norris should have thought about starting on the mediums instead of starting on the softs. But fair play, he went for something different. I don't feel like he needed to go for a risk. If anything, it was me that probably could have benefited from going for a risk, given that I was starting in 10th. He was starting in pole position, and I feel like maybe the strategy is what's going to cost him here. As we make our way to the end of lap 27, you can see that Lando Norris is now nearly 5 seconds down on me, and I think that this is just going to be a comfortable victory. Quite frankly, I can't really see anything that could hinder us. I will say at this point, however, I really didn't want to think it, because I knew the moment I thought it was going to happen. But I was so nervous that I was going to have a mechanical failure here. If I had a mechanical failure here, that's basically championship over. You know, 25 points down on Lando Norris. There would have been no chance that we would have been able to win the championship off the back of that, surely. But well, I think that anything can happen now in this championship in these last. I'm gonna say last 2 races. I'm gonna confidently proclaim that we are going to win this. If there's no safety cars, no red flags, no mechanical failures for us, then it should be a very straightforward affair to beat Lando Norris here as we make our way onto lap 31. Only a few more laps left to go to avoid that happening. 6.6 seconds is the gap to him. But, well, you can see that I am actually going to come up to lap some cars. That very rarely happens. But I suppose that the AlphaTauris are so poor compared to the rest of the field that, well, it's basically a non-contest. They just do seem to finish 21st and 22nd, or whatever the bottom 2 spots are in each race. No matter what the race is, they are so far away from the performance of every other car, and that is really, you know, quite disappointing for them, especially for Stroll, who moved away from Aston Martin to this team. And you can see that Dennis Hauger in the Aston Martin, by comparison, is doing a lot better. Obviously, I think it was I was going to say it was Alonso that retired for Aston Martin, but that wasn't true. It was that we poached Kevin Magnussen from them. He was the guy who replaced Fernando Alonso when he retired at the end of season 2. And we, of course, poached Kevin Magnussen. So we effectively did a bit of a driver swap. They got Hauger, we got Magnussen, and then they also took Max Verstappen and dropped Lance Stroll, who went to AlphaTauri in the end to replace the departing Alex Albon, who has been on a bit of a journey this season as well. So many crazy driver transfers have happened this season, but none crazier perhaps than that Jack Doohan transfer, especially given how many wins and podiums he's had since he came into that team. Absolutely remarkable season for Jack Doohan in the McLaren. It looks like they're probably going to get the Constructors' Championship, but there may be another twist in the tail here towards the end of the Grand Prix, as Carlos Sainz is going to go for a move up the inside of Lando Norris at turn 4 on the final lap of the Grand Prix. This could have major ramifications for the championship, and he's done it. Carlos Sainz has made his way into P2 here. I'm going to win the Grand Prix without any shadow of a doubt now. Only a few corners left to go, but Carlos Sainz has taken P2 off Lando Norris, and if he can hold on to that, then that is going to mean that I am going to have a 10-point advantage over Lando Norris in the championship. With just 2 races to go, that could have an absolutely major impact on the championship. We're going to round the final corner now, and we are going to take the victory here at the Brazilian Grand Prix, and I am very, very pleased with that performance. I needed this, you know. This was exactly what we wanted to be able to make sure that we can stay in the championship fight. I don't know how we don't get driver of the day. Again, it goes to Jack Doohan, but either way, it's a victory.
You can't fault the performance on track today. A well-deserved victory. What do you think it was, Ant, that gave them the edge over the competition today?
I think we'll chalk this one up to a deft touch on the brake pedal. That's allowed them to challenge down the inside into the braking zones, and ultimately, if you do that often enough, you end up winning the race. It was great to watch as well, though, wasn't it? Forget strategy, forget tyre management. Who doesn't love a good old-fashioned scrap?
Well, what a thrilling end to an incredible Grand Prix weekend. Our top 3 finishers should be incredibly happy with what they were able to achieve out there today.
Well, I'm incredibly happy not only with myself, but more importantly with Carlos Sainz, because that last lap move on Lando Norris, not only was it actually a really, really good move, but also it is going to have major ramifications for the championship. It's going to put me 10 points ahead of Lando Norris with only 2 races left to go, and this is your podium. It's me, Carlos Sainz, and Lando Norris, and well, let's see how the season unfolds in Portugal and Abu Dhabi.
So let's review the drivers' standings. Robinson increases their championship lead. Some amazing talent out there on track today, but Anthony, who would you pick as your driver of the day?
I have to give it to Robinson.
Let's move on to the constructors. It was a tough race for our championship leaders who lose ground at the top of the table. Meanwhile, good work from the owner-drivers team this weekend who pushed themselves further up the order. Well, that certainly was an exciting weekend of Formula One. Be sure to join us for more exciting Formula One action very soon.
That victory takes us ahead of Red Bull in the Constructors once again, which means we are up into P3, which is where we need to be for our sponsorship bonus. We've got $12 million riding on that one, so I'm quite keen actually to make sure we get that bonus as well. Hopefully we can hold off Red Bull for the final 2 races of the season as well. I could really use a strong performance from Kevin Magnussen. Sadly, I'm not convinced it's coming. He's not got a podium all season, and in a car like this, in a car where I've had, I think this is my 6th race win now, that's just not good enough from Kevin Magnussen. I really could have used him getting at least a few podiums here and there. You can see my my incredible lap 1 here now once again, where I made 7 positions on the opening lap. I don't think anything is going to compare to that, quite frankly. Absolutely amazing feeling to get myself up into such a competitive position so early in the race, and I really think that was the thing that allowed me to win this race. I think if I'd have been stuck down in P7 or P8, we would have been looking at a very different race outcome here potentially. I know I was faster than Lando Norris on that final stint, but you know, when you get caught in a bit of a battle, you can sometimes get caught in a DRS train, or sometimes if somebody's pressuring you with the DRS, it can mean that they're constantly, you know, pressuring you up the inside, holding you up, losing you time, and that can be something that's absolutely critical for your race. It means that it kind of prevents you from catching the cars in front. So even if I had the pace over Lando Norris, it doesn't necessarily mean I would have been able to showcase it, you know. And I think that is the crucial thing here, as it means that we are, you know, we were able to get that victory, and we are now leading the championship by 10 points, which is not an insignificant amount of points, you know. Obviously, it's 25 points for a victory, plus an extra 1 if you get the fastest lap. So, you know, in Portugal, the championship could swing back in the opposite direction. If you haven't got your comments in for who's going to be my teammate for the following season, I am going to say it's probably too late now. I haven't recorded Abu Dhabi yet. I have recorded Portugal. I haven't recorded Abu Dhabi yet, but I probably will have done by the time this video actually comes out. I believe on Wednesday. I could be wrong about that, but we'll see. But yeah, in any case, that is going to be it for this video. So if you enjoyed, please make sure you like and subscribe, and hopefully I will see you in the next one.